Thank you, Mr. Leader. You said that you would be opposed to having an extension of the National Guard's presence here. Since the crackdown began, carjackings have dropped 66% and robberies have dropped 28% and violent crime 15%. And you've been opposed to this since their presence here began, but are Democrats finding themselves on the wrong side of this issue at all with such reports? They're a bit beneficial.
I had a very good conversation with the mayor of the District of Columbia. I'm going to continue to support her position. Every single area of criminal activity that you mentioned was on the way down prior to the arrival of the National Guard. I'm going to continue to personally support the Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia. I'm going to support the Chicago Police Department, the New York Police Department, and police officers who protect and serve all across the country. And if those local police departments conclude that they want some support from the federal government, then I support that effort by those local police departments to partner with the federal government. It's as simple as that. Donald Trump is not going to get away with lecturing anybody about issues of law and order.
Well, talk about the turning of tables, because we've obviously been covering this recurring story of Democrat mayors and governors fuming and panicking and losing their mind over the idea that Trump might send in federal law enforcement to assist their local law enforcement in combating crime, because of course, who could think of such a terrible and horrific idea? And this resistance movement has led national Democrats to take some pretty peculiar political positions, such as apparently crime is good, crime is not a real problem that affects everyday Americans. Don't you know crime is down? And of course, the police are bad, etc., all of this garbage. But today, we gotta bring you the story from the source of origin, right? The original place where this whole debate started, which is, of course, Washington, D.C. That was ground zero for the so-called federal takeover, where Democrat D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, after months of denial and fighting and trying so hard to resist it, is indeed now admitting what a fantastic success the DC takeover actually was, how much she loves your favorite president, Donald Trump, and now the big bombshell here today is signing an executive order to indefinitely and perhaps even permanently extend the DC Metro Police cooperation with federal law enforcement. And that is obviously a massive blow to national Democrats who thought to themselves, oh, in 30 days, when this executive order by Trump expires, we'll be able to go back to our lifelong dream of turning America's greatest cities into crime-infested third world cesspools. But today, Chuck Schumer, today, Brandon Johnson, many of you will not succeed, because Muriel Bowser apparently is actually a big fan of the fact, well, breaking news, that crime is down in her city. Frankly, she needs to do a testimony, okay? We need to have her put out this national infomercial to the other Democrats, basically saying, look, when this all began, I was the biggest anti-Trump activist, and my city had massive crime. But after Trump instituted Project 2025, life is great. You put some people on the screen, crime is down, right? I can finally walk safely in my streets. The final disclaimer, Project 2025 is not a total cure for all Trump derangement syndrome. Results may vary. Try Project 2025 today. That's what we need. We need this, okay? But anyways, with that said, guys, I will tell you the story today of how Muriel Bowser is just blatantly capitulating and caving to Trump, as well as contrast that with the other Democrats around this country, specifically the clowns we keep talking about here out of Chicago, who apparently are saying this is such an evil, horrible thing. How could Trump do this? It's a fascist takeover. And meanwhile, the so-called fascist takeover going fantastically in the place where it's already been instituted. So that tells you everything. We'll get into it. First, though, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Subscribing is not only the best way to support our videos, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. And with that said, here is the story, of course, out of the Washington Post, who, guess what, is located in Washington, saying here that Muriel Bowser is now to provide indefinite coordination with federal law enforcement. She issued an executive order on Tuesday requiring local coordination with federal law enforcement to, quote, maximize the extent allowable by law within the district. She wants total Trump cooperation and federal control. What does that tell you? Interesting, right? Maybe it's because it's working, actually. As, by the way, she herself has stated.
For carjackings, the difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason.
Yeah, so I've made this point before, but let me just say again. So first of all, crime is down, which it had to come down from something because of the federal takeover. It's down, which means that crime actually was high before. Secondly, the federal takeover has been successful in bringing down the crime. And thirdly, the residents, according to Muriel Bowser, oh, big take here, I know, but actually feel safer because there's less crime in their neighborhood. That, of course, on all three different fronts, completely destroys the Democrat narrative we've been hearing nationally about how, police doesn't make us safer, as Brandon Johnson and Simone Sanders have tried to say, that crime is down and not a problem, don't you know? Well, how did it come down so much more? Because of the federal takeover, right? So that totally goes against mainstream media and a lot of these other characters. But anyways, here is the official story. So, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser on Tuesday ordered an indefinite coordination between the city and federal law enforcement officials, a powerful indication of her willingness to cooperate with President Trump's effort to take over public safety in the capital city. Wow. Okay, Bowser issued an executive order that requires local coordination with federal law enforcement to, quote, maximize the extent allowable by law within the district. The order gives no expiration date, basically saying to Trump, you can stay here as long as you want. By law, Trump's federalization of the D.C. police force lasts 30 days and is set to expire next week, but Bowser's announcement may quell any showdown over what happens after that deadline passes by authorizing the continued coordination between the city and federal authorities. We'll talk about that more in a second. But first, in a statement provided on social media, Bowser said her order would provide the pathway forward beyond the presidential emergency. Democrats cannot be happy with her right now, by the way. No, you can't work with Trump to make cities safer because that means you're working with Trump. Don't you know? Low crime rates, that's a fascist dog whistle. Okay. She has previously said that because of the federal government's authority over the district, which is DC's unique status under the Constitution, which gives Congress the ultimate say over city laws and budgets, she can get more done by working with Trump on, quote, their shared priorities. Well, that's a betrayal of the Democrat Party in itself. You have a shared priority in stopping crime. Don't you know crime's a good thing? Anyways, the Democrat mayor's olive branch to the president reflects her approach to the unprecedented incursion into local affairs. In the past month, Trump has, of course, federalized the local police department, ordered National Guard, and all of these things. And essentially, guys, there you have it. And as the Washington Post is noting, this is a drastic departure from the prevailing attitude of national Democrats, whose leaders are loudly fighting back against the White House, but do not face the same threats to their local autonomy as the capital city. Apparently, Bowser's advisors think that earning Trump's trust will ultimately give her more authority and is their best chance at preserving home rule, a federal law that grants D.C. the authority to manage its own affairs. The mayor is also working to finalize a deal that brings RFK Stadium to Washington, which requires cooperation with the federal government. And look, all that stuff is certainly true, right? As I've been saying, and as I've been kind of threatening on Trump's behalf, yes, the federal government can indeed take DC back totally if they want to. So that's a part of it. But if I'm going to be totally honest, can we maybe not be cynical for 2 seconds? Although, I mean, I don't trust Muriel Bowser as far as I could throw her. But the point is this, maybe some politicians just understand that, lower crime rates, I don't know why Democrats don't get this, lower crime rates benefit me personally and politically as well. You understand that, Democrats, right? J.B. Pritzker, Brandon Johnson, you would be more popular with your own voters if you lowered the crime rates. Yet you're going out there defending it. You're saying that public safety is not an issue, okay? Cooperating with Trump will never do that. Okay, whatever. I don't care. Why don't you at least try to lower your own crime? No, they won't do that either, because somehow, some way, this party of extremely lunatic and ridiculous radicals, like I said, like I've been repeating in every video on the subject, right? They just want to make it their national stance for some odd reason that they're in favor of crime. And I guess Muriel Bowser here, for a number of reasons, whatever they may be, is just saying no. Maybe that's not good politics. Maybe that's not a smart strategy here. So nonetheless, you have seen that this obviously is a real strike in the heart at some Democrats. For example, we have a prime example of the type of liberal activist, the fringe in the city, who's been protesting and getting really upset at the fact that there's federal fascist agents in our streets. And I think you can certainly tell who is upset about this move to extend the federal takeover indefinitely. Heck, these people are going to be traumatized. They may have to move. I don't know. Maybe DC will become slightly less Democrat after this, but check it out.
Just as a concerned neighbor, cannot deal with it anymore.
This neighbor and others came out of their homes with signs warning drivers that ICE was ahead.
So they're using tactics like this to get rid of our neighbors, get rid of our workers, get rid of those who help us.
Yeah, well, update here, buddy. You're going to have to deal with it a lot longer, okay? You might have to move. Just don't move to a red state, please. You can go to California or Illinois or something, because clearly they're very dead set on welcoming people like this. So, very typical. Nobody's surprised. But there you have it. It's also worth noting this is a massive blow to congressional Democrats, specifically Chuck Schumer and others, who said that if this comes to the point where the 30 days expires and then Congress would have to approve a reform to the DC Home Rule Act, they said, no, absolutely not. We're never going to allow Trump to lower crime rates. And well, newsflash, Chuck Schumer, buddy, you don't have to. So everyone wins.
Have you heard, do you think that he's going to end up going to because he can't revoke complete home rule authority for DC without actually going to Congress first. He can't even extend this past 30 days without going to you all first. Have you heard that that's what he plans on doing? And if he went to Congress and said, you know what, there's this crime emergency, we need the National Guard out there longer, we need to take over Washington, DC, would you grant it?
No way. We'll fight him tooth and nail. And right now, as you said, he can only do it for 30 days, or now I guess it's 26 or 27, whatever. And he needs to get Congress to approve it. And not only are we not going to approve it, but I have there are some Republicans who don't like it either. This is, again, just a distraction. He's afraid of Epstein. He's afraid of all that. And we are not going to be we are not going to give up on Epstein.
Yeah, well, update here, Chucky. You don't have to. You don't have to worry about that. Congress doesn't have to worry about that, because the Democrat mayor from your own party is fine and perfectly happy with the DC federal takeover extending. And by the way, which party has the dissent in their ranks? Because you're spreading some unfounded conspiracy theory that Republicans in Congress are secretly really upset that Trump is making their workplace a lot safer. But okay, publicly, outside, you have your own party going against you by extending the federal takeover. So who's divided on this front, right? But I'm sure it's all just a gigantic distraction, as he says, from Epstein. That's what it is, obviously. Everyone knows that, right? Lowering crime rates in America, caring about it, that's not even a real issue. That's just a total distraction. Everyone knows it's really about the Epstein files. And I'm sure, by the way, Mayor Bowser is also in on that, right? The only reason she signed this executive order today was to distract from the Epstein files, and she's also in on it. Okay, are the Epstein files also a distraction from the Democrats' 21% approval rating, Chuck? Is that what's going on here? Not really sure. Or is the approval rating just a distraction from the Epstein files as well? Okay, I don't know. But anyways, with that said, this, of course, carries over now to the national question of, now that the DC mayor is making the big infomercial saying, this is so amazing, I love what happened so much, what will the reaction be out of many Democrats, but specifically the folks in Chicago and Illinois who have been sitting by, allowing and abetting all this stuff to happen, and claiming that it's very evil for Trump to go in and do proven successful ways to lower crime rates? Just asking.
This guy, Pritzker, he should be ashamed of himself to say that 54 shootings that's not enough to bring in extra law enforcement. That is simply a denial of your obligation. It is a rejection of your oath to protect the people.
Yeah, well, I'm sure this is just a gigantic surprise to everyone, but breaking news update, the Chicago Democrats and the Illinois Democrats have not changed one single bit. In fact, they just continue to double down, despite the fact that DC mayor from their own party is also admitting to the success, saying that indeed crime is either not a real problem, it's down, or it's like a good thing, or the very basic common sense solution of strengthening police and strengthening punishment to deter criminals actually doesn't work, right? 3,000, 4,000 years of human society and proven results are actually wrong. Trust me, this social scientist out of Cambridge University or something knows all about how to stop crime by having social workers and, rehab meetings and community roundtables and this garbage. Okay, whatever. But all of that said, we have the doubling down here of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson now apparently blaming the whole situation, right? So first, crime wasn't real. And then secondly, crime is real, but the solution to stop it is not actually to stop the crime. Now, thirdly, here he is earlier today stating that shootings will continue as long as this president continues to put politics over people. What does that even mean? Take a listen.
Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
Okay, well, let's get this straight. First of all, what shootings, right? Crime's down, don't you know? Anyways, so the argument by Brandon Johnson is that over Labor Day weekend, while he's protesting, no federal troops in Chicago, we're not going to allow this to happen, you had 54 people shot, massive crime wave. You're accusing Trump of putting politics over people. Okay, so that in mind, what is Trump's solution? What is he offering on the situation? He's saying that much like DC, we can send in federal law enforcement, National Guard, whatever manpower you need to come in and not just totally like fire everyone in the local police, but cooperate and work together with the local police to have a crackdown deterrence effort on crime. You increase manpower, you increase deterrence, etc. Brandon Johnson and JB Pritzker, by the way, are defiantly saying no. Meanwhile, they're making these arguments that like the high crime rates are good or they're fine or we're just going to keep them the way they are. So inevitably, the statement is the opposite. No, Brandon Johnson, shootings in Chicago will continue so long as you continue to put politics over people. As I've been saying, they're playing politics with people's lives. Because as you have a situation of actual violent crime happening to people and their lives, the Democrats of this state are too proud, too egotistical, and too Trump deranged to admit that, hey, we should work together, right? Trump is trying to actually help you and your people, but because you don't want to give Trump some degree of victory, I guess, despite the fact that lowering crime, as I said, is also a victory for you, you won't allow it to happen, right? You're playing politics with people's lives. That is the objective fact right now, right? Just total projection as usual from two absolute clowns, and I don't know who this third person is, but I'm going to guess also a clown on your screen. And of course, the arguments get even more deranged. Because now, guys, after, again, the long, like, horseshoe on this, first of all, crime wasn't even a real problem. It was down. Now they're claiming the reason why shootings are happening in Chicago is not because of Chicago's own law enforcement, their own problems in their city. No, it's because of red states. That is right. First of all, it's Trump's fault. Now it's the red states, saying here, Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem. It's our fault, apparently, that their places have crime. Blaming everyone but themselves. But let's hear the justification, and then we'll respond.
2 or 3 more new guns come into our city. Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem.
Oh, so that's really the problem, of course. It's the guns. And it's not just the guns. It's the fact that the red states have the guns. And this is, of course, continuing a myth that you've long heard about crime in places like Chicago, which is all of the gun violence that you see, because people point out you have extensive gun control. It's basically illegal to even have a gun in Chicago. How does this stuff keep happening? The justification is this grand conspiracy theory that the guns aren't coming from Chicago or Illinois. People are driving across the border into Indiana and other red states and bringing it across state lines. And guys, that's also why we need national gun legislation, right? All this garbage, blah, blah, blah. The Republicans are so evil. Except the fact that, what if I told you that's not true? What if I told you this is just complete and utter misinformation according to ATF data themselves, right? The actual breakdown of, okay, let's do this very simply then. How many guns that are seized in crimes come from the state of Illinois versus the red states and other areas? Well, as you can see, this is data from 2023 from the ATF. Top 15 source states for firearms with an Illinois recovery. As you can see, so their accusation here again is the red states are bringing all the guns. Who's number one on that list? Is it Indiana? No, it's Illinois with 9,147 seizures of what's documented here. Indiana coming in second place at only 2,796. And so what does this data say? By the way, you scroll down and, there's a couple hundred from some other states around the country, Florida, Michigan, other places like that. Okay. But what is the conclusion here? The vast overwhelming majority of guns seized in Chicago and Illinois as a result of being used in crimes come from the state of Illinois. Which, guess what, suggests two things. First of all, your own policies are not working. It's not because of the red states or Trump or the politics. No, your own policies fail. And secondly, on top of that, obviously, as they keep talking about this week, gun control doesn't actually work. Because guess what? The guns here are not because of some type of red state conspiracy theory. No, the criminals are using guns from your own state where you tout the gun control. Isn't it funny how that works? So there you have it. And of course, lastly, so the conspiracy theories, as you can see, are getting worse here, right? As they continue to lose this argument more and more, they're just resorting to more ridiculous statements about it. Oh, it's the red states and the ghost guns. It's Trump. It's this or that. Of course, J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, now has a brand new lashing out conspiracy theory, which is apparently all of this is a big plot to steal the midterms by deploying military to intimidate people from voting. I don't even know what that means. By the way, wouldn't that only deter the feds, likely the illegal aliens from voting? Interesting, right? Anyways, though, take a listen to his answer.
This is a part of his plan to do something really nefarious, which is to interfere with elections in 2026. He wants to have troops on the ground to stop people from voting, to intimidate people from going to the voting booth. So take note. That is what this is all about.
That is what this is all about. Well, Pritzker, I think you might have a point, actually. This is a plan by Trump to win the midterms, but he's not doing it by stealing it. He's allowing you guys to steal it from yourselves. What do I mean by that? Well, he's making crime a national issue, which it is, obviously. But guess what that is also? A politically popular thing to campaign against. The Democrat Party, yourself included, have taken this position that is terrible for the midterms. It is going to lose you the midterms of saying that crime is perfectly fine. We don't need help, even though 53 people getting shot, that's perfectly good. The criminals are good. The police are bad. Okay. Is going to do what? Lose you the midterms. So you're right to bring up the midterms. It's just not in the way that you're claiming, right? It's not about the military stealing it. It's about you losing it yourselves by taking this political position. Yes, you are taking the bait completely. But anyways, guys, there you essentially have it. So again, to recap here, DC mayor, perfectly happy extending it. And as the Democrats continue to lose ground on this issue, they're getting more deranged and conspiratorial, right? This is what desperation looks like, and I don't think it's exactly all that surprising. But with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.